A human being is, in the beginning, like a broad and shallow river flowing sluggishly toward the sea. Most of his potential energy seeps away by covering too much unnecessary ground. Now, if you can take that individual and cut him a straight, deep channel, deep, not wide, he'll get to his destination in a fraction of the time. He'll lose practically none of his energy along the way, wandering all over the countryside, and the power of his energy will be multiplied by hundreds, even thousands. This is the channel every person is looking for. With so many possible areas in which to work and build, it's a real job sometimes to find the right one. Sometimes it takes many years. I know men who haven't found the road that was right for them until they were in their 60s. Then they've accomplished more in 5 years than they had formerly accomplished in 40. The trick is to make the decision, give it everything we've got, and stay with it until one of two things happen. One, you decide you've definitely made the right decision, or two, that you've made the wrong decision. Now, there's no problem if it's the first. If it's the second, you've just got to try again. But behind your decision, remind yourself that it's better to be outstanding at one thing than to be mediocre in a dozen or so. If you do one thing well, you can still dabble in other things as hobbies in your free time. But if you're trying too many things and not very successful in any of them, you won't enjoy yourself, you won't know any real accomplishment. Of one thing you can be sure. In studying the lives of thousands of successful people, whether it was raising crickets or running a little hole-in-the-wall restaurant or working as a salesman, accountant, attorney, or back in the shop, whatever it happened to be, these individuals made up their minds to do it as well as they possibly could. More than any other single thing, it is this attitude that invariably brings success. It's caring more for the destination than the hours involved. It's realizing that this attitude gets rid of competition immediately, and today, this attitude is rarely found. Well, anyway, if you've been troubled by the old familiar human malady of running up too many roads and trying to run up more than one at a time, pick the one out of all of them which seems to offer the most promise and which you think you'll enjoy, forget all the rest, and dig a deep, straight highway to your goal in life. You'll be amazed at how quickly it can be reached, and the time will pass anyway. If you would reach a lot of places during your life, don't make the mistake of trying to reach more than one at a time. There's time enough for all of them. Let go and grow. To climb, one hand must go above the other. So in life. We succeed not by hanging fearfully to the old, but by reaching out, taking new handholds mentally, accepting, welcoming, adapting new and better ideas. Hold fast, we fail. Let go, we grow. The choice is ours. It's good, isn't it? Hold fast, we fail. Let go, we grow. This excellent advice applies to just about anything you can think of, from raising children to succeeding at our job or business. It's another one of those seeming paradoxes that we have trouble learning. To have something, we must turn it loose, free it. If we try to cling to it, we lose it. To get, we must give. You know, this is something we should never lose sight of. As we get older, as persons and as businesses, we have a tendency to want to cling to the old, to be suspicious of anything new and exciting. Our attitude seems to be one of, don't rock the boat. This is a successful way of doing things. Let's stay with it. Let's hang on to what we've got and ride out a future we can't be sure of. But this attitude, in many ways, can only lead to decline and eventual failure. This is a turning of the back to life, and it's something life won't stand for. To grow, we must let go. We must force an attitude of increase upon ourselves, an attitude that accepts, that welcomes the new and maintains a healthy suspicion of the old. As one executive put it, if it works, it's obsolete. And while this is not true in the strictest sense, it's a marvelous attitude for a businessman to hold, because whatever it is, it will be obsolete before long. Now, this is something I think each of us should check ourselves against regularly, weekly, if not daily. We should ask ourselves, what am I still doing the old way? Have I dug myself a rut or two that I'd be better off to climb out of? Be leery of the man who says, I've always done it this way and that's the way I'm going to continue to do it. He's a human dinosaur, and he's headed for the boneyard. Here's another absurd old saying that you frequently used to hear. It was good enough for my father, and it's good enough for me. This is the man we ought to ask to use the telephone his father used, and drive his dad's old car, and wear his old clothes, and eat his food, and live in his house, and use his forms of transportation. No, what was good enough for my father is not good enough for me, and nothing is good enough. Everything is changing, and the wise man or woman is the one who takes a yes attitude toward life, who looks for and expects change and improvement in every department of life, and who knows that to climb you've got to let go with one hand in order to place it up above the other. You can't get to second base and keep one foot on first. You've got to let go to grow. If you're not eating or mowing your lawn or thinking or working or living better today than you were a year ago, you've got yourself a little problem. Maybe you're hanging on when you should be letting go. I've come to the opinion, as the result of long observation and probably a good deal of prejudice, that there are mainly three kinds of people in the world. One of them is unfortunate. One of them makes a serious mistake. And the third is the most fortunate of all human beings. As I attempt to describe these three individuals, ask yourself in which category you believe you best fit. You can't really tell too much about people by observing them at their leisure, at the theater, on the golf course, at the beach, and so forth. I believe the best way to observe people is while they're working at whatever they've chosen to do. So here are the three main types. One, the unfortunate. This is the person who lives a life of reaction. By that I mean he reacts to his existence. He looks upon his work as something unpleasant that must be performed in order to make a living. This unfortunate person is not happy in his work and is therefore impatient and discontented with his leisure. He's largely suspicious of other people and is constantly on the alert for real or imagined slights that he can complain about or criticize. He looks for reasons things cannot be done rather than for ways in which they can. As a worker, he takes secret delight in telling customers that the item they've chosen is not available, or that it's closing time, or that he's too busy. Living in constant frustration himself, he tries to find comfort in frustrating others, but only succeeds in thus rendering his own life more frustrating. He ages quickly, as though to say to the world that he wants to get through this unhappy life as quickly as possible. Number two, the uncommitted. This person does a pretty good job. You really can't find fault with him, but you somehow sense he is temporary in what he does. He has one foot in his life and one foot feeling around outside of it, in case something better might come along. He's an idle wisher and dreamer, but does nothing to make them come true. He plays it safe with what he's got, but remains poised to jump if something offering more solid or attractive footing presents itself. He misses greatness in the life he has by hoping it will come along in something he does not have. And three is the committed. Here's the person who's found what he wants to do and abandons himself to it with everything he's got. He seems to know that it's impossible to become great at everything, and so intelligently makes up his mind to become great at that which it's been given him to do. Wanting nothing else, he takes delight and satisfaction in doing surpassingly well that which he has of his own free will chosen to do. This is the person who's largely responsible for the livelihood of everyone else. Putting all of himself in what he does and staying with it, he eventually succeeds head and shoulders above the great majority. Being interested and caught up in his days, he ages very slowly and, barring an unforeseen event, usually lives to a comfortable and cheerful old age. Instead of reacting to life, he acts first and makes life give him the rewards he sets in motion. Well, which of the three types are you? Possibly few people fit perfectly into one or the other, but one will generally dominate in their lives. Try committing yourself to what you're now doing and watch what happens.